Yes, although I have not too much time, I would like to start with
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, perhaps.
No, it's okay. I would like to start with a short note on what is IZA. Sorry, I have to learn about the keyboard. This is IZA located in Bonn. As you can see, this white building is a quite small one. We have only around 16 to 15 researchers. It's a beautiful location. The waterfront in front of the picture is not a lake, it's the River Rhine. And so it's a beautiful...
It's almost blue.
Yes, it is blue.
You paint that with...
No, well, I should not say too much about that, but it's a beautiful place. It's very inspiring. And I can only invite you to come to Bonn if you need some inspiring ideas about collaboration and about exchange of scenario ideas. This is an ideal place for doing that. We are a privately operated research institute. We have a main funding by the Deutsche Post Foundation, and we are both devoted to basic research and policy advice. And the key issue is that IZA is not a typical research institute. We are the core of a network. We have more than 1,000 fellows or research affiliates and so-called policy fellows from all over the world that are supporting us and that make sure that, state-of-the-art knowledge and technology enters somehow into our day-to-day work. So that's something about IZA. And now I would like to say something about the objectives of Work Package 10. It's about the micro-modeling of labor supply and labor demand, and the value added compared to the previous presentation by micro-modeling is, by and large, the ability to get some more insight into structural and behavioral aspects. I think you can admit when I say that macro modeling has its limits with regard to structural and behavioral aspects, although it seems that your model is already quite developed in that respect, but using micro modeling goes far beyond these aspects typically. And when I say structural aspects, that means by and large gender, skills, occupations, regions, household types, and in general demographic aspects. So all changes that take place in these dimensions are by and large adequately captured by this type of model. And with regard to behavioral aspects, I'm talking mainly about participation in the labor market and hours worked. These are also important structural components because it matters whether somebody works part-time or full-time or doesn't work at all. And this is in principle modeled with our microsimulation model. In nature, it's a static microsimulation model. I will say something more about this in a few seconds. As we try to capture labor supply and labor demand, both based on microsimulation techniques, I would like to address these two aspects, supply and demand, separately. With regard to labor supply, we have a type of model which is trying to model individual labor supply in household context based on a utility maximization concept. So individuals maximize their utility by taking into consideration the time that they have to devote for work and the money that they get in exchange for it. And this is done in an institutional context, mainly the tax and transfer system, which plays a huge role for participation choices and for working time choices. And as a general database for this operation, we are using Euromod. Euromod is a broad micro databases for the European Union, and we are currently about to already develop a standardized type of micro model for all countries that are covered by Euromod. The way we are doing it is we are trying to model the different tax and transfer regimes in a parameterized form, so that it's relatively easy to also to not only to capture changes in tax and transfer systems, but also to make it easy to switch between different regimes or institutional contexts between different countries. Now, the great challenge for us is how to project this type of static microsimulation structure into the future. When we want to say something about the year 2025 or whatever, we have to transform this into a future population structure. And one could do this in a type of dynamic microsimulation modeling, but this is much too cumbersome. That's not the way we will do it. We are using a more feasible way to do this, and this is the point in time where all these different work packages are coming in. All the work packages that are delivering scenarios, especially scenarios about population structure, with regard to these structural dimensions that are mentioned here, are relevant for this, and we can model then projected population structures by a reweighting procedure. So reweighting is the methodological concept to adjust the given empirical sample that we have to a projected sample in the future. That's the only way I can think of which would be feasible within the given time and with the given resources. I thought that work package 8 would be relevant mainly for this, but I was surprised when Miro showed this table methodological coordination list of methodologies to be used. Work package 8 is not listed as a work package that will deliver scenarios, but instead it's work packages 4 and 5. We have to clarify this, but
where's work package 8?
Must be needy, right? I had heavy conversation with needy people in and.
Just to explain, I mean, the work package 8, sorry, that might be a mistake. Actually, in the table it says work package 10 and work package 8 for demographics. Because, so it's in the table, but just in the abbreviation.
Maybe it's. Don't take this too serious. I'm pretty sure that we will come together there. But work package 9 is also important, although not mentioned here explicitly. With regard to microsimulation of labor demand, we are not as developed as we are for labor supply, I have to admit. And we will probably also not get to the same level of, differentiation of the model here, but we will do our best. The idea is to have some kind of analog which consists of firm-based microsimulation models. But here the problem is not only the availability of data, it's also the heterogeneity of data sets. It's not as easy as with Euromod, where you have a standardized data set which is easy to address. Here we have to invest much more in the generation of infrastructure, and I'm pretty sure that we will more than once have to draw the fallback option, which could consist of making use of sectoral labor demand elasticities, for example, generated by work package 9, and make such some more restricted computations about the potential development or the potential projection of labor demand. The same thing applies here. We have a static type of model that has to be projected into the future in order to capture the demographic process and other things. And what we are trying, what we will be following here is we will link these micro models to the macro level growth scenarios, and so that's where we are heavily dependent on input from work package 9. And then this is not an exercise in itself. Of course, the target of the whole thing is the link between labor supply and labor demand, and this is important because this allows for an identification of bottlenecks and excess labor supply. Not in the sense that we will make forecasts that say in 2025 it will be like this. The idea is more that we want to identify bottlenecks and structural access situation that may help policy to identify where is need for policy action. And the microsimulation model has its strength in helping to assess what is the potential of a certain policy in order to close gaps that we can identify by this tool. And also a challenge is that if we simply compare the results for labor supply and labor demand, we would ignore that there may be some adjustment processes. So for example, if there is excess labor supply, or if there are bottlenecks that must have implications on wages, it may have implications on migration flows. And so the idea here is, I have to admit, we will not be able to model migration flows because there's no adequate database on the micro level that would allow for considering this adequately. But what we have in mind is that we can at least iteratively model wage adjustment processes. So, for example, if there are bottlenecks, we would expect that this leads to a wage increase, at least in the sector or in the segment where this bottleneck shows up. And so we can then iteratively model some kind of approach to a new equilibrium, and then take this as the potential situation that may still then give rise to policy actions. So this is by and large the concept of our approach. I will not bother you with deliverables and all these things. For me, it's more important that you understand the logic that's behind our work package. Thank you very much.
Comments?